What you consume consistently will quietly shape who you become. We often think about nutrition for the body, but rarely about nutrition for the soul. Social media isn't inherently bad, but it becomes dangerous when we let it subtly define our self-worth. Every swipe is a comparison opportunity. Every scroll is a silent sermon about what success, beauty, and value should look like. Have you ever felt like you've fallen behind in life even when you're doing everything right? You got the degree, you got the job, or at least you're trying to. You're supposed to feel confident, secure, maybe even excited about the future, but instead you feel stuck, anxious, disoriented, and maybe even a little bit fake. If that resonates with you, you might be experiencing what some psychologists call the quarter life crisis. And here's the deal, you're not alone. In this episode, we're unpacking what quarter life crisis really is, why it affects so many people, and what you can do about it. I'm going to give you 7 practical steps rooted in psychology, identity theory, and digital culture that can help you not just survive your quarter life crisis, but actually use it to clarify who you really are. What is the quarter life crisis? The term quarter life crisis was first coined by Alex F. Young and popularized by psychologists like Dr. Meg J., who's done extensive work with 20-somethings. It refers to the emotional and existential turmoil people often face between ages 20 and 35. The symptoms are real: tense anxiety over life choices, the fear of missing out, FOMO, the pressure to have it all together, questioning your purpose, feeling like an imposter even in your own life. And for women in particular, this time can come with layered expectation around career, relationships, appearance, and timelines for things like marriage and having kids. For men, the pressure often centers around financial success, emotional independence, and being ahead of the curve. But regardless of gender, the pain is similar. Who am I supposed to be, and why don't I feel like I'm becoming that? I know a lot of people that are wrestling and struggling with this. This crisis is a mirror, and that mirror often gets clouded by how we engage with the digital world. So let's take a look at your online self versus your true self. Now, here's something we don't always talk about. Social media doesn't just reflect who you are, it shapes who you think you should be. You scroll past hundreds of curated versions of people your age, traveling, thriving, starting companies, getting engaged, launching side hustles, glowing skin, perfect lives. You guys know the drill. And even if you know it's filtered and curated, it still seeps into your psychology. You start comparing your raw footage to their highlight reel. And in so doing, you become more disconnected from your true self and more aligned with your pseudo self, the version of you that exists to please and to perform and to present. And in that tension, identity anxiety grows. That's where the work begins. So here's 7 things to do during a quarter life crisis. Let's talk solutions. If you're in the middle of a quarter life crisis right now, here are 7 identity focused things you can do to move through it, not around it. Number 1, slow the scroll. Curate your digital diet. What you consume consistently will quietly shape who you become. We often think about nutrition for the body, but rarely about nutrition for the soul. Social media isn't inherently bad, but it becomes dangerous when we let it subtly define our self-worth. Every swipe is a comparison opportunity. Every scroll is a silent sermon about what success, beauty, and value should look like. So here's what you should do. You should audit your screen time this week, especially Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever social media you use, and ask, how do I feel about myself after 10 minutes on this platform? And then in light of that, unfollow accounts that make you feel less than, even if they're popular or inspirational. Instead, follow creators and thinkers who value process over polish and depth over aesthetics. This is about protecting your emerging identity from being hijacked by projection and perfectionism. Number 2, name the anxiety, don't numb it. If you can name it, you can tame it. The quarter life crises are filled with vague anxieties. The mind races, asking you questions like, am I behind? Should I be further along? Am I living in my purpose? But these thoughts stay abstract unless we bring them into language. Here's a psychological insight. The brain tends to process uncertainty as danger, which triggers anxiety, even if there's no real threat. So naming the source of that anxiety creates distance between you and the fear. And here's what you can do about it. Write in your notes app or in a voice note, quote, the pressure I feel right now is coming from, and then you fill in the blank, end quotes. Or I'm most afraid that if I don't blank by age blank, then I won't be blank. Practice compassionate objectivity. You're not judging the fear, you're studying it. Once you've named the fear, you can examine whether it's coming from a real value you hold or from someone else's script of your life. Number 3, identity equals becoming, not just doing. You are not your resume, you are your rhythm. In our achievement-driven culture, we tend to define identity by externals, job titles, degrees, salary, Instagram bios, how many followers you have. But these are roles, not roots. And roles can change. True identity is about being, not doing. It's about the values you embody even when no one is watching. So here's what you can do. Take some time to reflect. What kind of person do I want to be when things go wrong? Write a personal character statement. I want to be known as someone who, and then you fill in the blank. Or even if I lose everything, I want to be grounded in, and then you fill in the blank. This becomes a compass, especially when the world is pressuring you to figure it all out. Or maybe the pressure's coming from you to have it all figured out. Number 4, revisit the inner child. Clarity lives in curiosity. The child you were still has something to teach the adult you're becoming. Before life told you what was realistic, there was wonder. You weren't afraid to dream, play, experiment. So revisiting that version of yourself isn't regression, it's reconnection, especially for women whose identity may have been shaped early by pleasing, adapting, or fitting in. This inner reconnection is essential, but the insight is true for anyone whose true self got buried under expectation. Ask yourself, when was the last time I felt truly myself? How would you answer that? Try this visual exercise. Close your eyes and picture your 8-year-old self and ask what made you smile. What did you lose track of time doing? Then re-engage with one of those things this week, even just for an hour. This isn't just self-care, it's identity recovery. Number 5, break up with the timeline. Rewrite your success script. Your life isn't late, it's unfolding. One of the biggest stressors in quarter life crisis is the invisible timeline that we carry. Like you're supposed to be somewhere else by now. Your peers are married, promoted, traveling, posting big wins. But timelines are often borrowed from someone else's blueprint. Here's the insight. Sociologists call this the social clock, a culturally constructed schedule of when things should happen in life. But social clocks don't account for your story, your trauma, your dreams, or your growth, your personality. So one of the things that you could do is you could write in your journal and ask yourself this question: where did I get the idea that I'm behind? Write a permission statement. I give myself permission to build a life that unfolds in its own time. And remember this, you're not a late bloomer, you're just rooted more deeply. Number 6, identity requires motion, so take micro risks. You don't discover yourself by thinking, you discover yourself by doing. And here's the trap many fall into during a quarter life crisis: paralysis by analysis, overthinking. You want to make the right choice, so much so that you don't make any choice at all. But identity doesn't come from certainty. It comes from experimentation, trying out things, putting stuff on, practicing. Take a small, uncomfortable, identity expanding risk this week. Say yes to something you'd usually avoid. Start that blog, try that pottery class, apply for that thing that you think you're unqualified for. Create momentum. Even failure is feedback. You can learn something about yourself. This is the antidote to identity confusion. You don't find yourself, you build yourself. You experiment and you try. Number 7, find identity guides, not just influencers. Influencers show you how to look, and mentors show you how to live. And here's the truth. You were never meant to navigate identity formation alone. We need mirrors to see us clearly and voices that reflect us honestly. But guidance doesn't always come from older people with titles. Sometimes it's a friend who tells you the truth. Sometimes it's a coach who asks better questions than gives answers. And sometimes it's a community where you can bring your whole self. So here's what you can do. Identify one or two identity guides in your life: a coach, a mentor, a friend, a community. Who sees me behind my productivity? And if you don't have anyone like that, it may be time to invest in one through coaching, therapy, community. Heck, leave a comment in the notes and I'd love to talk with you. Clarity grows in reflection. Growth accelerates in connection. Now, a quarter life crisis is not a detour. It's part of the road. It's uncomfortable, but it's also a portal into a deeper self. And maybe, just maybe, this isn't a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. So here's what I want you to do: pick one of the 7 steps and commit to it this week. Share in the comments which one you're choosing. And if you want more help clarifying your identity, check out my Identity Clarity Guide linked in the description. Don't waste your crisis. Use it to build a more grounded, honest, and powerful version of yourself. Until next time, take care.